You are now in the Reality Capture Network.
Welcome to the Reality Capture Network podcast. Today we've got Sean with us here. Sean, thanks for joining us.
Thank you. My pleasure.
So, I'd like to start by letting you introduce yourself, your name, where you're from, and then talk a little bit about your background and your position.
Well, I want to start with all the listeners out there. How about a big thank you and round of applause to Matthew Bird, everybody.
Oh, man, thank you.
Starting off the Reality Capture Network. This is good stuff. My name is Sean Lewis. I am the Senior Manager of Reality Capture at Clark Construction. We do a lot of different things that involves reality capture, as far as drones, scanners, virtual walkthroughs, Matterports, photogrammetry type stuff. So all those different applications. My specific role, which I like to do the most of, is try to find the practical applications that we can scale. Clark is a national organization, and if we can scale this out to the entire country, that just makes us that much better to be a better builder.
Yeah, awesome. That is great. And where are you located now?
Currently, I'm in Bethesda, Maryland, is where Clark's headquarters are.
Okay.
I live just kind of outside of there, a little bit north, because
Awesome.
it's the DC area.
Awesome. That's great. Maybe let's do a little rewind and let's I love getting into a little bit of the story about each person that we have on the episode. Knowing the position you're at and what you're focused on is awesome. And then I like to do just a couple minutes of go back to, hey, where is it? Did you grow up there? And then kind of what maybe led you, whether it was through schooling or direction or whatever, what led you to the industry you're in. And yeah.
So I grew up in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. So obviously, as all Pittsburghers know, I'm a big Steelers fan. I'm a Yinzer. I speak my own language, which is Pittsburghese.
There you go.
Yeah, so we can get into all the yins and going down to the igloo to watch the coins and at. But I won't dive too much into Pittsburghese. So I grew up in Pittsburgh. I went to Pittsburgh Technical Institute, which was a technical school for computer-aided drafting.
Okay.
So that was back in the day when AutoCAD was really kind of first coming into the world. From there, after graduating, moved down to the DC metro area to a civil engineering firm. Started out as draftsman, starting all the AutoCAD stuff when that was really prevalent prior to BIM and that world. So I was in the civil side, and then I started to see land surveying. Mm-hmm. And I liked land surveying a little bit better, being out in the field a little bit more versus the engineering side. So I switched over to land surveying. Was doing that for, the whole time I was at that company, it was 14 years, and I was in the surveying department, I think, for 10. And then that's when laser scanning really started to become prevalent. Mm-hmm. It's been out for a while, but it was getting prevalent, I think, probably 2000, let me think about it, it was 2008, 2010.
Yeah.
And 2012. So we started dabbling in it, and that's where I found out that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to get into laser scanning. I wanted to do it. I saw the future in it. I knew it was going to be used on a ton of projects. The company I was at wasn't buying in at that time. Mm-hmm. And so then I switched over to construction industry because the construction firm I went to, they already had a laser scanner and they were on board scanning a whole bunch of projects. And that's how I got into scanning full time. And then I've just been kind of trying to climb and keep on going up the ladder where I ended up now at Clark Construction, leading reality capture nationally.
Yeah.
Because it's here and it is here to stay.
Yes.
Without question.
Yeah. And as much as it is here, it still feels like it's barely here because there's so much application for it through so many industries, so many projects, so many use cases that honestly are hardly even being touched at this point with the amount of work out there, even though some firms have fully adopted, even big firms like Clark. It's even internally, I was in a similar role before starting Nexus. It's a challenge even within big companies to implement something new and actually have it widespreadly adopted and used fully to its potential. So there's so much space for things to improve. It is exciting, an exciting time to be in the technology realm. Awesome. So let's talk a little bit about what you have going on. You know, what's your normal kind of day-to-day role at Clark, and then we could kind of get in and talk about, obviously you got some gear around you. We could talk a little bit about the different types of technology that you guys are actively using. So let's start with your current role and kind of your daily role.
Sounds good. At the moment, we have a lot of things going on. We'll kind of, I think, probably touch on later. But at the moment, a lot of stuff I'm involved with is drones. We're building out a whole drone package. We have 10 drones being shipped right now to our office, which is going to be pretty sweet.
Awesome.
And those are going to be deployed out nationally. Things where I think is pretty cool on that aspect is we're building out this entire program with all this documentation, the hardware, the software, outlining how to use it, proper field procedures.
Mm-hmm.
We're adding the parachute systems with the intent to then get the flyover people waiver, so then we can legally fly during normal business hours over people.
Mm-hmm.
That's something that's in my head because I know we've been working on it. That's like right now, you know?
Yeah.
Other things that we do a lot of is we're scanning a lot of jobs. Anytime if there's really renovation, because it's a perfect application in understanding the existing conditions, we'll go in, scan it all. Either if a model is required, let's say we'll get it then modeled into, most times more than not, it's Revit.
Yep.
And we'll just manage that process, get in the Revit model, and then hand it off to the people that are managing the coordination effort.
Sure.
So a lot of scanning for renovation. We do a lot of scanning even in the pursuit phase. So if we're pursuing a job, you know, scanning is pretty fast now. It's not like back in, like I mentioned, 2008, 2010, where you're locating 4, 5, 6 targets, and it was a slow process. It's so much faster now.
Yeah.
So we go out and do it for really all the pursuits, to have something that presents well to a potential client. We've had a lot of success showing that.
Nice. Do you find that in that scenario, I would assume so, that you're kind of going with the faster, lower quality gear for the pursuit side, and then, or do you go full accuracy and everything the first time, so you already have the data if you use it? What's your approach look like?
We'll use really the good scanners, but maybe our field procedures are more on the faster side, where it's all cloud to cloud. You know, especially if even if it's in like an urban area, say downtown DC, we don't really need targets anyway. But anytime it's a pursuit, we're not using any targets. It'll all be cloud to cloud. So if it's off a little bit, if it's for pursuits, it's not. It's more visualization than it is the accuracy of it.
Yeah. And then what does it look like then if you end up landing that pursuit? Do you use the same data and go back and just tie in some additional stuff to tighten it up a little?
Yeah, if we need to. So initially, that one, a lot of times it might be like an empty site or a bare site. And so that helps them create a site utilization plan.
Yeah.
So where trailers are going to end up being, where the tower crane is going to end up being. And if they're within that much, just 3 inches, which you're going to get cloud to cloud.
Oh, yeah.
Plenty good, you know?
Yeah. Again, it's one of those things that it's like, well, before that, what are you doing? Eyeballing it, Google Earth, like image from 8 years ago. Yeah.
Exactly. The Google Earth. That's the tool kind of before all this stuff.
Yep. Awesome. What are do you have any applications that you're using kind of just the scanning on that is outside of what you think might be some of the norm? Like within the construction side, are you guys using it actively in, QC throughout projects? Are you doing, floor flatness stuff? Is it mostly as-built? Where's kind of your areas you're integrating it?
A little bit of everything. Where, as you know, scanning is probably the easier side of things, doing actual physical scanning. Where we try to differentiate ourselves is more on what we do with that data. How do we present that data? How do we make it into more of a product versus a service? So we'll take that point cloud and we'll analyze it, whether it's floor flatness, whether it's checking against an existing model, whether it's building a new model, or maybe it's a combination of all of those. We'll see some renovation ones where we'll do the complete scan to BIM, but then we'll also provide floor deviations. We'll provide slab above deviations, know where the dips are in the ceilings. And how do we package that and present it out? That's where we try to differentiate ourselves.
That's awesome. What are, obviously you're active in construction. That's what you guys do. Is it across all different industry type, or what's your typical projects that you're integrating on?
Yeah, so Clark mainly does the larger projects, but it is across all industries. So healthcare, residential, commercial. We've got some stadium jobs that we're working on, which is awesome because it allows us to do stuff on all those industries and find out workflows. And maybe we find a workflow that worked really well here or didn't work here, but hey, you know what? It's going to work really well on this side.
Yeah.
So it gives us those things that we can kind of trial and error. On one job might not work on this one, but then it end up working well on another one.
Yeah, that's awesome. Okay, let's talk a little bit about the different technologies you guys are using. Obviously, you have a few behind you, and I think we've talked a little bit. You mentioned you're not really stuck on a single brand or a single type. Really, the idea is there's a ton of tools out there. What's the pros and cons of them? When would you use one versus the other? Maybe. And I don't even know, you might have so many you don't know them all off the top of your head. But maybe we could just go over what's some of the hardware you guys are typically using.
Okay. Well, as you see behind me, there's we have the Matterport camera maybe slash scanner. I don't know exactly if it's considered a scanner. People call it a scanner.
Yeah.
I think it's more of a camera.
Yeah. Personally, I don't like when people call it a scanner because it does photogrammetry into data you can measure from, but it's not scanning. So I'm like, don't call it a scanner. It's a camera.
Exactly. And we have the little BLK that's behind us. We have the Leica P20. We also have Faro units. We have S150, S350. We have, I think, 6 of those total. They're out right now, so that's why they're not behind us. Those are primarily probably our workhorse. Scanners is the Faro S150s. They're a good price point. They work pretty well, but I'll probably start, I think, we'll start on kind of what I consider the low end. But we'll start with the Matterport, because that's here.
Yeah.
I love the Matterport for what it does.
Yes.
I think and you mentioned this in your first episode of the podcast of using the right tool for the job. And for virtual walkthroughs, those kind of aspects, Matterport is awesome.
Yeah.
Resolution is really high. It's a familiar interface, like a Google Street View. It has the dots that you kind of hop around in. But what I love about it, it's fairly autonomous. Field work isn't, but the processing is up in the cloud.
Yep.
Next day, it's ready.
Yeah.
So great visualization tool, point cloud. It's okay, but you're not gonna rely on it for as builds.
Yeah, and it's one of those scenarios that somebody that's trying to for the first time as built a architectural job that's small and they have a Matterport, it's a very cool first point cloud. But if you're someone who's coming from laser scanning, you're like, okay, if I really want to measure it, I'm just gonna scan it.
Yeah.
But the fact that you kind of get it anyways is fun.
Yeah, exactly. It's
but the imagery's
kind of thing that comes with. So for visualization type tools, this is one of the best ones. I feel like works really well for what it is.
Question while we're on that. Do you use any other 360 cameras, standalone cameras at all?
We're using a lot of the regular 360 cameras. I had one of those. We also got pushed out to the jobs. We're seeing a lot more interest in photo documentation, virtual tours, because of the COVID situation. The 360 cameras, we kind of build a standard kit that can just be purchased through our IT department, and that includes a Insta1X. Then we have like a monopod set up. We have some lights that attach to it, the iPhone, iPad holder that then will attach to it. And then we pair that with the software similar to, there's Struction Site is out there, OpenSpace is out there. Cupix is something interesting that we haven't used fully, but it's an interesting one that's out there.
Yeah.
So putting those 360 cameras, putting 360 photos on a plan. We see that teams just like that. So what we've been kind of recommending is using the 360 photo for your daily or weekly documentation, and then at specific milestones, then breaking out the Matterport.
Sweet.
Then, so moving on with the BLK, which if I know you're familiar, but if others are not, I like
The
to
soda
say,
can.
yeah, I say a Foster's beer can
There you go.
because that's what I like to say it is. Great little kind of entry level scanner in my opinion. Works well. It is on the lower end as scanners go, but super simple. There's one button on it. It's command controlled by either an iPhone or
Yeah.
iPad. Forget the specific specs on like points per second.
That's all right.
It's definitely a little noisier in
Yeah.
comparison to say the Faro or the Leica P20
Yeah.
40 RTC 360
Yeah.
and those guys. So it's entry level, and that's what you pay for. I think it's 18 grand or something. So it's lower end. You get what you pay for. But
Yeah,
good
exactly.
for starting out.
Yeah.
Or good for, we use it sometimes we use it actually with Matterport software if it's an outdoor application, or we use it for supplemental type scans at like a hard to reach area.
Yeah.
Maybe above ceiling in certain places, something like that.
Yeah. Awesome. Sweet. And then you've obviously you don't have the other scanners in your office, but so after that, a step up would be your Faro series.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, spot on. Faro series. We have the S150 and a couple S350s, and I think 4 S150s. And for us, that's mainly our workhorse scanners.
Same here.
Yeah, it's definitely higher end than the BLK. Again, easy to use. There's a lot more settings versus the BLK, but that's really a positive because it allows you to change up things in the field. If there's certain more shiny things, you're going to be closer to something versus being further away, indoors versus outdoors.
Yeah. It really lets you maximize those settings, so like you're saying, BLK has one button, Faro, when you're running that, your scan time, by the time you turn off color and turn resolution down, you could have a 2-minute scan, or you can have color and really dense with high quality, and you could be at 30 minutes.
Yeah. Do you find yourself using the 30-minute at all? Do you ever use the
No, not very often.
high-end one?
Not very often. I mean, we've worked on very diverse projects. There's been some construction defect. We were mapping cracks in concrete. We were getting really high density, and maybe if you're doing some really large outdoor, but it's definitely not often. I mean, and that's the thing with most scanning that we find is like, the higher overlap, lower settings is something you typically end up doing because you're setting up close to each other anyways because of the line of sight and things you want to capture. So not too often that we get that high. I think our typical would probably be like a 7-minute.
Okay, gotcha. Yeah, I think we typically fall around the 5 minutes or so. But as you just kind of mentioned, it all depends on the application, what job type it is that you're at.
Yeah.
You're maybe at like an oil refinery or something, might need to kick it up a little bit.
Yep.
But if you're in a renovation of a building that's going to be turned into a Revit model, need it that high,
Yeah, exactly. So you've got your Faro series, then you've got your bigger Leica back there.
Yeah, so we got the Leica P20.
Sweet.
Accuracy wise, these are just top notch. The P series, really P20, P30, P40. They even have, I guess, P50 now, which is
if you need to scan the city next to you.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, those are your true survey grade, as building, just awesome data. Everything's great about them, other than they're huge.
They are big.
Like lugging them around is the biggest that's what we find to be our biggest reason why we don't use it as much is just really just the pure size.
Yeah. And that's, and that's one of those things that it is, like you said, there's a tool for everything, and trying to figure out like, what's the real difference of quality between the difficulty of taking that with you versus why the Faros are your bread and butter at the moment. It's like some of the technology is so close that it's like, you have that give and take as to when you need to. Are there times that you find, do you have certain projects that you absolutely, definitely take it on and use it for?
Yeah, a lot, and most of those are going to be some type of exterior work where it's
Yeah.
for more of an as-built type
Yeah.
condition, or even just far range. If we need if something, I don't care what any of these scanners manufacturers say about how far, if it's 150 meters and it's so 150 meters is what, like 400 feet or so. Quality data doesn't come out at that far end
Yeah. Yeah.
of many of them.
Yeah.
So if it's farther range, if we need something a little bit farther, that's when we break out the
Yeah.
P20. We've also found that they're better at tying floors together. Using
Sure.
those through a stairwell will just hold it a little bit tighter than using the Faro or BLK
Yeah.
to go through the stairwells tied floor to floor.
Yeah.
The live dual axis compensator, I guess, does it. I don't know what it does, but it does its job.
Right. I love when people ask me, try to get into too much detail about why. I'm just like, look, I know how the tool works and I can use it really well. And then let's stop there. Why we'll have to call in the magic behind the curtain.
And is your guys' workhorse? You said typically the Faro.
Yeah, we're running all Faro S series at the moment, and we've that's honestly all that we own internally is those series. We've rented different scanners at times when we want it for a different project. Use the new RTC a little bit, so we're always evaluating and trialing. But we got into Faro when they first came out, and we worked through a lot of kinks that I think people run into. We've had tons of people say, oh, it's, registration's hard, or we can't figure out how to get control in, or why is this mismatch? And it's like, well, there's actually reasons for it. You just have to know how to address it or how to fix it. Once you do it, I mean, we've used it on any project you could think of, and, integrating control properly, integrating survey, and been happy with it. So, and the price point, having a couple of those versus a big one, we've been happy.
That's a good point.
We're definitely, we see a lot of people out there that really bash one or the other. We're like, that's kind of ridiculous. Why do it? Just, if you like one or you bought one for a reason, great. But we have no problem if people are using anything.
Yeah, and we've been saying use the right tool for the job.
Yeah.
Can one do all of it? Yes, one can do everything.
Yeah.
But certain ones are better at
little better at certain things. Yep.
Exactly.
For sure. Just like you wouldn't want to take the big Leica and do a big scan with lots of color.
Yeah.
You'll be there for a couple months. Yeah. But it's nice to see them all continue to try to improve. And have you guys used or have any RTCs?
We do not. I've tried it a couple times. I like it. We're already invested in the Faros.
Same here.
Will we eventually get one? Maybe.
Yeah.
The speed is definitely impressive.
Yep.
So I think that gets into play where if you're scanning a ton, a ton, that's when that's really going to come into play. Or maybe you have to maybe you're hired on to scan just some massive building.
Yeah.
And once you accumulate out, okay, if I'm at 5-6 minutes a scan, I can do it with the Faro over 3,000 scans, or 2 minutes, 3 minutes.
Yeah.
Over that amount of time.
Yeah.
It ends up kind of for the most part paying itself off.
Yeah. Sure.
So I like the RTC. Just we haven't.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I mean, I think you have a lot of tools already. It's always like, man, add another one. Yeah.
Well, if anything, mobile is.
Yeah.
I think mobile's starting to really kind of get somewhere.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about that. Apart from the terrestrial, obviously all of these are tripod based. Do you guys get into any mobile yet?
Not yet.
Okay.
But I got my eyes on some stuff, and I feel like mobile's getting really close.
Yeah.
I think I think it's good currently if you're making a model, and if it's not an as-building type condition.
Yeah.
Because of the speed. But I think if you're not done properly, you're going to lose a lot of that accuracy. There is the one out there, Naviz.
Yep.
NVIS. They got some stuff.
Yeah.
They got some stuff going. I think.
Yeah.
I think they've figured out some of the accuracy issues with mobile.
Yeah.
I've been keeping my eye on them.
Yeah, yeah, I think that's definitely a nice option. We do a lot of modeling for companies that capture data, and we've seen some data from their carts, from some of the other Tim's units, from the GeoSlam, obviously mixed with terrestrial, and um, you know I think Naviz is probably one of the better that we've seen as far as a mobile solution for sure.
How do you like the GeoSlam, at least data wise?
That's a good question. I think there's times that it works. We've recently used it on, well, not we didn't run the capture, but we have a client who's doing a ton of capture. And it's one of those scenarios where, they have millions of square feet to capture. And there's above ceiling and there's complex little areas and they're just such a diverse that they're really doing the hybrid approach of hey, if it's accurate enough to use the cart for a big portion of this and then come back and fill in with terrestrial where there's areas that it's not getting enough density, and then use the GeoSlam on a pole to like map into a hallway and stick up above ceiling to capture a little area, or walk back into this little hall area that the cart couldn't really go in. So we've been able to model from the point cloud from it. Knowing how much we love our Faro data, it's definitely not beautiful point cloud, but it's one of those things, and even for some of this work that they're doing, there's time restraints. Like they're allowed to get in there for a certain amount of time, and it's like, well, crap, we'd have to take 20 terrestrial scanners to fit that time frame. So even if it's not the data we really want, we have to build out this process so that we can do that volume with that quality, be able to model it. So I think there's space for all of it, but yeah.
That sounds hard.
It is. It's interesting stuff.
It sounds hard.
But it's there's need for it, and there's not a lot of people that are mixing them all very well.
Yes.
Yes. But
Good
by
point.
when you figure out how to mix them and you're able to get that use case out of it, it just opens more doors. Because what happens to a guy that has one scanner right now who runs into a client that has that scenario? It's like, well, sorry, we just can't do it because I can't capture that much in that amount of time. So it's very cool to see certain firms out there that are really pushing the mix and in different applications.
Again, knowing the right tool for the job. If the job,
Yep.
if you have two
Even
days-
if it means all the tools.
all of the tools. I like it.
That's awesome. Cool. So what about while we're on the topic of just the different technologies, are you guys using or have you played much with kind of pushing what you do with the data into other hardware? So AR, virtual reality, anything creative other than kind of deliverable.
We're trying to use mesh models more.
Okay. Yep.
And the meshing is all. It's still. I don't think it's still not there yet. But it's much better than what it used to be.
Yeah.
So with the one we're using Point Fuse right now to bring some of the point clouds in. And it's funny. I literally just watched a presentation right before this from our regional VDC manager out of Chicago, and he showed where they were doing a ton of scanning for a renovation job, and then they ran the point cloud through Point Fuse and used Point Fuse for actual coordination work in Rovisto.
Yeah.
And this dude is like, he's wicked smart. Like,
Yeah.
he's just awesome. And it was pretty impressive what he's able to do. Like, some aspects are still a little blobby on the kind of side.
Yeah.
Structural items are still pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
You lose some quality in like the piping and whatnot. But what he was able to put together was impressive, and they got sign off on some. And then what he said is what he's really doing is, so aside from bringing Point Fuse and do the meshing, then they'll also do some spot modeling from the point cloud.
Yeah.
Like critical areas.
Yep.
Or areas that there just wasn't enough scan data to get the mesh properly.
Yeah. We see.
I think I'm pretty good.
Yeah, we see similar, and again, it's almost, I mean, it's the same concept as using the right tool for the job. It's like the processing of the data or deliverable creation is the same thing. It's like you do with the data what it needs to be done for that job. Sometimes it requires you build out a full detailed BIM model from the scan data with every system and layer and name, and like there are use cases for that. There are also use cases to just use the point cloud and slice through and pull some measurements, or there's a mix for both. We see the mix for the two a lot in the industrial space, where if we're doing an oil and gas facility or a chemical plant, instead of modeling out every little piece, they can take the point cloud in, design around it, but still model the supports the new pipe's going to go on, model out the flanges they're going to connect to so that they can actually click and tie to those in the mechanical software, but, not waste the time and money modeling everything unless you need to. Again, there's use cases for doing it, all of it, but, and that's where a lot of people just don't know when they need what. And they don't know how to use the mix of the data. The other challenge is a lot of the end users or the end clients aren't prepared to handle any of the point cloud. Like they have to have you model it or draft it because their entire process, entire design team is still working in the certain software, and they're, they don't know what to do with the point cloud. Their infrastructure is not in place. They don't have any software to handle it. So even if that's the most amazing data, the industry is still in the place that, well, for now, a lot of the time we still have to just model it down because that's what they know how to use. That's what they're familiar with. And they can just plug and go, back into Revit, export out their new floor plans, design directly off of it, where a lot of the point cloud use is just not quite there yet. And even more than the point cloud use not being there, it's more just that, most companies aren't updated with computers and softwares and processes to handle it.
And that's more really, it's, as you mentioned, the infrastructure for it. And one of our biggest pain points is just sharing data. Just getting it to other people and then them going, this is way too large, I can't handle this.
Yeah.
Like, all
right, crashed the server.
Yeah. So we'll take it and we'll try to, decimate it down or clean it up or unify it. Whatever we need to do to try to get it to a reasonable file size. If we can get something really around under 15 gigs and try to like 10 gigs, we find out kind of like one of those magic numbers that people can still work with.
Which I still love seeing the eyes of people that have never dealt with a point cloud hear that. We're like, no, don't worry. We decimated it. We cut it down. It's only 15 gigs. And they're like, a single file?
Exactly.
Sorry, it used to be 500.
And that's a lot of the pain points for people that aren't into it is because I believe in Box, which a lot of people have, there's file restrictions for a single file size is, I think it's standard at 15 gigs, and then you have to up it to like 30 gigs.
Yeah.
So if it's one file size,
yeah,
even like Google Drive,
yeah,
it's one file and it's above X amount, that's when issues come into play.
Yeah, we actually just had that today. Literally, we're transferring a 200 gig project file, and we're like, well, we have multiple sharing options because they have limitations. So, our share file, we love the access and the use within share file, but it's 100 gig limit. And so we're like, well, this time we have to go this route. So,
Personally, I love that. Probably still the best approach is mailing someone a hard drive.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's so great. We're pushing everything so far and using all this technology, and then I'll mail you something.
Yeah. So, yep. That's definitely one of the biggest areas for improvement is still figuring out how do we reduce the data size from, the raw data, how can that be made smaller? And then even apart from smaller coming off the scanner is once you process it, some conversion, something to compress it without losing any quality. I think that's one of the biggest issues across all the industry for sure.
I got around that once, and I haven't used it recently. This was a while ago where it was, and this is just a matter of, it was zipping it, but it was it was 7-zip or something where it would break up the individual files in the different zip files. And then when you extract it, piece it all
put them back together. Yeah. Yep. I've seen that.
I haven't used that for a while, but
yeah. Still
So
kind of
like
a
ShareFile, we've been exploring a little bit with ShareFile.
I do like ShareFile. We use Google Business Suite for most of our business, and we honestly really like Google Drive. The upload speed. We took the same file that was whatever, I don't know, 50 gigs or something, and I uploaded it through ShareFile through the desktop app, and I uploaded it through Google Drive through the Chrome browser. Google Drive was 30% faster. So I really like Drive, but ShareFile, the control to be able to add people to folders, make things secure, send and receive things. Like we can add a client folder, let them have access so they get notifications when we upload a document. They can, we have other clients that we do all their scan registration. They have their own folder. Every time they do a scan job, they go in there and make a folder. They upload the scans. We know, so we can automatically download it. It's just a process. So there's some parts of it that I really like. Versus like Drive, even though it's faster, there's not that usability with external people.
Yep.
So I do like ShareFile.
All right, cool. Yeah, we've been looking at it, but we haven't been able to push through IT a little bit. But
Yeah.
we have to explore that again.
Yeah, for sure. All right, let's see. What do we talk about next? So we kind of talked through some hardware, software. Did you say whether you had been getting in or trialed any virtual reality stuff within your guys's?
Yeah, we do in VR. Mainly it's through the model side. We haven't used any point cloud VR data at the moment.
Yeah, same.
Yeah, we've done it with like some of the mesh model stuff. We've utilized it with. We tried at one time. We tried something pretty cool with the HoloLens. We wanted to see. We did a move management case where we scanned a site where a bridge was going to go into. So we have the whole existing condition. We have 2 bridge piers, and then we have a bridge that's being built offsite somewhere else.
Yes.
So then we brought the model into that point cloud environment and showed how the sequencing of how it's going to fit onto those piers.
Yep.
We wanted to try the mixed reality with the HoloLens out in the field to see if we could picture the bridge where it's kind of sitting, and it just crashed and burned.
A little hard. Yeah.
Yeah, well, you got to line it up in the field with some type of for the photograms you type target stuff, and the HoloLens and sunlight, and it was just a whole bunch of things. We got it kind of there.
Yeah.
Not enough where we would want a client seeing it, or we didn't really push it to the team because it was kind of our little test case to kind of try it. But the move management stuff was awesome. Yeah, like that worked out great.
I love that part.
Your side animations and that worked out really well.
Yeah, I loved doing that where you scan an existing site. You then inlay the model that the design is, or actually some of my favorite projects I did when I was early on in the industry, and this was kind of like I hadn't seen anybody do it before, was in oil and gas. We had an existing facility we scanned, then we went and scanned the piece of equipment that was going to go in there that was already built, and I took the 2 point clouds and laid it right where it was supposed to go, and I made a point cloud video that was like really high quality right through it, and gave that to the client, and he showcased it to his project executive team, and they're like, "You already built the project? Like we're supposed to be reviewing and approving it." And he's like, "No, it looks so real because it was colorized point cloud. It was the real tank in the real spot within the real facility." I loved being able to take that data and integrate the two. And that was kind of a fun thing to do early on.
Because it works, and like that stuff works so well. It really does. Really does.
And especially for kind of the high level buy off stuff, like prior to doing this, what did they do? They had some engineering company spend a long time building out a model to try to show what it would look like, and spend all this money and then produce drawings. And the high levels are like, I don't want to see drawings and just hear you explain what it'll look like. Getting to see this video of here's where it'll sit, here's why it's going to work, the clearance is still good to get by it in this direction, like the visual selling point of that presentation was awesome.
Exactly.
And we've done a couple things since even on the drone side. So
Yep.
like having an existing warehouse or facility that's going to be expanded onto, or somebody's trying to pitch a renovation and expansion, doing drone of the full exterior of the site, meshing that into a model, and then using Revit to build in the design of where it's going to go, and then using, animation software to show the existing site, and then show the model start building on to the facility to show what's going to be added where, and fun stuff. And it's just it's something that before using those was either a very lengthy manual process to build out models, or you just didn't have great visual.
Yeah. How do you show it on a 2D plan? How do you hand someone a piece of paper of that?
Yeah. You don't. Nice. Let's see. So I know we talked about data size. Is there anything else on the top of your head within the different technologies you're using that you see being pretty challenging? Like something that you run into with the use of the technology that you're like, this is an area that's difficult and like either sometimes messes up or, needs improvement. Is there something that comes to your mind?
I wish all the scanners had a way to locate targets in the field. I wish you could let's say there's a sticker target on a column or on a wall right here, and we got our thing set up here, and we just say, hey, there's a target there, locate it. So it's all, then you put in the number of what it is.
Yeah.
That's something I wish they all had. The older, the P series, those older guys can do it. It's still not even great, even in those. It's kind of time consuming. I wish that was easier. Like that's one thing.
Man, that'd be awesome.
Yeah, wouldn't that be
That's
nice?
a good one.
You don't have
Like,
to worry about that.
just have the iPad or something. It does it scan, and you just click, and you're like, that's target 247, and then you're back in the office. The software already knows. Instead of going find checkerboards, and then now I have to figure out which one to name.
Yeah, and find every black and white thing that was in that building and call it a checkerboard. And you're like,
dang
so
it.
that's one thing that I would like to see improve. Importing, exporting times is something, but I guess that goes back to data size. Get importing and exporting faster, and that's why I tell people that when they ask, well, how long, oh, you guys went out and scanned, well, so you should be able to turn this around, can I get something tomorrow or something? We're like, we're going to be importing, exporting for 6 hours, 8 hours, like literally just hitting a button, and just kind of waiting for it.
Yeah.
We still struggle a little. I mean, it's not hard, but it's always when you can't control something yourself, bringing in like survey crews to set up control on jobs that aren't ready for control is always a little bit challenging. Say it's, the building isn't demoed yet, but they have, we have to go in and scan earlier on. So making sure everything's properly tied.
Yeah.
I wish it was a little easier, but in the same token, kind of glad it's hard because that's what separates us from.
Exactly. I was about to say that honestly, in my perspective, is one of the biggest challenges in the industry as a whole, because I mean, this is a statistic pulled out of my head right at the moment, but I would say 70% of the people scanning never use survey control, and a lot of them don't even know what it is. They're like, what do you mean? Do I control it? Yeah, I have this checkerboard I put up, or okay, well that's a target for scanning, but how do you know that by the time you tie 10 floors together that it's you haven't created some drift, or you're scanning 2,000 feet of roadway? How do you know that your data is not all curved now? Because survey control. Well, what does that do?
The data sheet says I'm accurate to 1 millimeter.
I ran it, and it gave me this green light. It gave me this green light in the software that said you're good to go.
It said green. I'm good, right?
Yeah.
It's accurate to 1 millimeter.
Yeah, 1 millimeter.
That's what I need.
And that's the difficulty. That's one of the difficulties I think in the industry, is that, to be honest, the hardware companies don't do a good enough job, I think, of educating people how important control is, when to or not to use it, how to properly do, if you're using cloud to cloud, like what's acceptable, what size of area, how should you control steroid. A lot of people push, let me sell you this awesome scanner, you don't even need targets anymore, goodbye. And then the company has no idea that they can't accomplish a huge job and keep it accurate, and they fail, and the project gets hurt, and the client doesn't want to scan anymore. Now there's bad word, you know. I think honestly, that's one of our hopes, as even as we're educating through this platform, is like helping bring awareness to, hey, there's a lot of people out there doing things wrong. There's a lot of people out there doing things right. A lot of the people doing things wrong don't even know that they're doing it wrong. Because they just were sold a scanner and they're scanning. You know, trying to just really build out, yes, there are tons of tools. There's different times to use them. There's different ways to use them in different industries. There's different benefits, but you know, you need to understand how and why, which also, I guess this would be a good spot to try to talk about why we're building out a network of companies. You know, over the years, we've worked on projects. In the last 4 years, I think we've worked in about 35 states or so, like everywhere. And in every industry you can think of. We've done resorts, we've done forensics, we've done underground mine tunnels, we've done ships in Alaska, we've like anything, movie sets. I mean, we've hit every industry just about. And so we've got to see the pros and cons. We've got to see the use cases. We've got to see the issues. We've got to see the fact that there is so much work out there. We also know that like there's companies all over the country that don't know how to market themselves. They don't know how to get in front of clients. They are scanning wrong. You know, there's issues. So our goal is trying to say, okay, well, if our strength has been like finding all this business, and we also have the strength of networking, let's start to identify every company that does scanning. Let's filter them out. You know, let's build this database of which, you know, sometimes there's a project you don't need a no survey. You can run out and scan this little shopping, you know, building that's being done for a quick renovation. I'll hire someone with just a scanner or a Matterport or a BLK or a Faro to go capture that real quick. And if we've built this network of people all over the country, then instead of it being a $8,000 job for someone to travel to because that's the only person they knew that had a scanner, we can help try to push the industry by making things more affordable, by making sure that the right company is being used on a job for a specific use case, by educating the masses, trying to educate why the technology is beneficial in different industries, and then being able to answer the question of like, okay, well, we're interested. Like, how do we find the right person? Right now, how do people find a scanning company? They just Google it.
Google.
I mean, so we want to try to build out, there is no certification. You don't know the qualification of the company you find, especially if you're new to the technology. You don't even know what questions to ask. So our goal is to have a network built out, have a pre-qualification process. We actually sent out a form last year that was, hey, we want to start subcontracting work out to people because we get work all over the country. I'd rather say, hey, small business in Texas, I want to give you a scanning project because you're already there. I don't have to spend my time and the client's money to travel there and to come waste 3 days of travel just to come scan this. Like, I want this network built out. I can just go to my database and say, all right, we got 3 companies within driving distance. This one has a Leica, this one has a Faro, this one has a Matterport. Who's the right tool for the job? Okay, that one, let's get a quote out. You know, build out this network so we can have somebody within driving distance to any project in the US and know what they use and kind of pre-qualify whether they're right for the job.
That's smart, man. You got it. I like it.
And then even on the data processing side, you know, that's even one of the, I would say that's a bigger challenge for most people even than the capture. You know, is it really expensive and difficult for us to fly to a job to go scan? We do it all the time. It's not a huge deal. Now, does that same company that you Google that you find that has the scanner, can they do a full scan to BIM model for you, or a full virtual reality walkthrough, or survey grade deformation maps? Or the answer is no. Like 98% of the time, you're not going to get a company who does all of it. So also being able to help people really make sure if they have a specific deliverable they're trying to get after capture, like, how do you get that? Who can do it? What's the cost? What's the value? And making those connections, because I think that's a big issue. People don't know who to go to for what.
And that's always my biggest thing, is talking about what's the end deliverable, what's the end game. You have to start at the end to get it to the beginning. Because if you know you're doing, I think you mentioned earlier, We need to identify cracks in concrete in a point cloud. Okay, so if that's what we're doing, okay, now let's go back to the beginning. Is BLK going to work? No.
Yeah.
Is Matterport going to work? Well, visually Matterport would kind of work, but no.
Yeah.
And you go back to the beginning to work towards that end
Exactly.
game. I always tell people, what is your end game? What is the deliverable? What are we trying to get to? Because they just call up, I need you to come scan.
Yeah.
Okay, hold on.
Yep.
Back up and start at the end and then go back to the beginning.
Yep. Yeah, because there's even those times, you know, and of course, I think everybody who's ever scanned has run into a scenario where they didn't ask enough questions the first time, or they didn't, you know, they were learning how the scanner worked and they didn't do something right. And there's times that it's like, well, hey, they wanted this building scan, we did it, but we did it with the settings we thought we should have done. And now they're like, wait, oh, we also want to see those pipe. And you're like, well, we scanned with a really low resolution because we thought you just wanted the architecture, and now we can't model those pipe because there's like no data on them. Yep. You know, so like you said, starting from the end and making sure, like, do you need to see XYZ features? If so, we need to plan on this type of density, these setups. This is how we're controlling it because of the accuracy or not, the imagery or not. There's so many things to consider for sure.
Absolutely.
All right, let's see. What's next, Sean? You got any other thoughts?
Man, I'm telling you, we hit on a lot.
I know. It's fun.
I'm hoping everyone, I mean, I know our passion is being pushed out, and everyone, I'm sure, can tell that, but I'm hoping all the listeners out there kind of, you know, took something from it, whether it was just gaining that little bit of what the right tool is for the job, or, as you mentioned, networking out to everyone. You know, how can you make yourself a little bit better? You know, I just hope that people take that from this. What did they get to make themselves a little bit better?
Yeah, I think honestly that's probably the biggest takeaway from our discussion today. I think there's probably nuggets in there for everybody depending on where they are in their journey of finding out about this technology. But I think the biggest thing really is knowing that there's a lot of tools and investigating what should be used for your project before doing it yourself, before buying the piece of equipment, before hiring a subcontractor, is whether you reach out to someone like us, you know, somebody that knows about the different ones who can at least make a recommendation, or doing the investigation yourself, just so you know whether you buy it, whether you do it yourself, whether you have someone doing it, you know what you're going to get out of it, and that's going to work for your project. All right, we're gonna do one last futuristic question on the spot. Okay.
All right.
If you could fast forward about, I don't know, 30 years, and you could go into the future and bring something back with you that would help your business, what do you think it would be? Whether it's something to do with AI, something more in the virtual world, robotics, something. Any thoughts?
So the first thing that's popping in my head, and I'm kind of a practical person, and I think this is kind of practical.
Sure.
I'm going to go into the future and grab probably the most prevalent tool that's going to be in the world of scanning in 20, 30 years.
There it is.
Is going to be probably the most prevalent tool. iPhones, whatever thing you hold in your pocket is probably going to be the most prevalent photogrammetry or laser scanning, whatever tool 20, 30 years from now. It's going to be something you have and you just walk around and do stuff. Processing it, I have no idea. I don't know what it's going to be like the data wise, but we're seeing it now. I think iPhone actually literally just, their new one I think came out with some stuff. As far as the scanning side. Yeah. There's been some little attachment that goes to an iPad. It's been around for a while. Yeah, there you go.
Yeah. I was
just announced something that works with the phone.
Yeah, everybody's starting to move that way. I accidentally saw that my phone did something like that. I took a picture and there was like a 3D mode and I could like move around the object I took a picture of. I was like, dang, it's moving that direction. And then I know they announced the newest iPad has LiDAR in it and you can scan certain things. I think that I think it is that far off. I think it's a long ways out still before it's like that replaces what we use now. But man, could you imagine it getting to the point that it geographically knows where you are, and you could literally just
Already has GPS.
scan a room, like it's just documenting it as you go, building it out. That'd be pretty crazy.
GPS is going to get better. I think, again, I'm a practical type person. I think the actual practical use cases are, and living in the construction world, is you're out on site and they're putting down new pipe that then needs to be covered up in hours or something.
Yeah.
So how are you going to document that pipe? Yeah, you can traditionally just locate it. What if you just break out your phone or iPad and there you go.
And
you just walk along the pipe and now you have it.
And you can tag it while you're out there, and then you hit sync, and it automatically syncs into your Navisworks data set in the office.
Exactly.
Man, all right, we got to build. We got to build this.
That's really not out of the realm of possibility.
No, I think that specific application for it probably is actually not that far out. Even just a better way to just sync, like taking a quick picture that syncs into a data set already that you're using, and isn't too bad.
Now, yeah, even just that sync aspect.
All right, we're gonna come out with an app or something. Let's do it. Okay.
I like it.
All right. Well, Sean, thanks for joining us today. It was a lot of fun. We're excited to continue pushing education, pushing the technology, even hoping to continue giving feedback to different companies out of this. Actually, I just now remembered, I almost asked you a question earlier, and I wanted to ask while we were talking about data processing and stuff, what computer systems are you guys using? Is it broken up per office? Do you have special types you use for reality capture, or do you have like a company-wide?
So my group, we all have BIM boxes that have been kind of custom built for us. We're also testing out a newer BIM box that is apparently, this is where IT starts going above my head on this part, but apparently it's just badass. Is what I've been told.
The Osprey.
So some of the people that do a lot of our scripting stuff inside models, the reality capture groups, and some of the heavy VDC people have BIM boxes, and then others, we have what we call our standard BIM computer, which is a pretty decent HP laptop.
Okay.
For laptops to issue out company-wide, because a lot of people are either on site or they kind of move around. And then, but if people, what's nice about working at Clark is if someone needs a better computer, we'll get one.
That's awesome.
They get the point of, if every day I'm spending an hour longer than I would with a better computer, if every day I'm spending an hour waiting for this computer to work, over the course of 6 months, they could have just bought you a better computer.
Yeah, exactly.
So, and we're trying to push out stuff to the masses as well. Like, we want people to be able to use models and all that stuff on site and get it out the more. I like to say we're trying to spread our virus. Reality capture virus.
There you go. Okay, I know it's bad timing, but
sorry,
now
time for that.
But now that we're on that topic, you reminded we were going to talk about this thing that's going on. It's kind of like a virus, just like you talked about. So let's touch actually shortly there before we get off. How is that affecting your guys' teams right now in your process? Are you still out documenting? Do you see benefit that you had some documentation done before and you're doing virtual tour stuff? Are you traveling to jobs? Are you looking for help in areas you guys aren't located? What's your kind of overall situation?
So, first, I know I did kind of joke a little bit, but it is a very serious matter, and I understand that. But it has presented a lot of opportunity in the reality capture world. We've seen a very big uptick for Matterport type stuff, and even the 360 cameras for those virtual walkthroughs. Architects, owners, they're no longer really coming to the jobs. Some of them have already paid. I apologize for my dog.
Working from home.
Everyone's working from home.
That's okay. Last episode, the kids were walking in. It's all good.
Yeah, so that's part of it. All of this has affected us working at home. The virtual tour stuff has been huge. Some owners, they literally purchased the right to walk a job prior to closing. So prior to drywall coming up, they bought the right to come in, look at everything, and sign off for approval. They're no longer allowed to do that. So we've seen Matterport and through some other kind of live video feeds and the 360 cameras where now that allows them to walk the site and sign off on that. Something that we're working on and going to be doing is for safety trainings.
Yeah.
People aren't allowed to be gathered in groups now. So we're using the VLK with the Matterport software because this is kind of an outdoor application, which will allow them to do safety training on, it's a water treatment facility. There's all these different kind of piping and stuff that's there, and they want to do a virtual training. So it's just another effect that's really, again, opportunities in reality capture, I think, are exploding right now. The main thing for us that we're doing a lot of is the virtual tour stuff. In regards to travel to job sites, it's interesting. There was a company that they did all their scanning in-house, but their in-house scanner people were in Michigan, and so they're not allowed to travel.
Yeah.
So then we just did the scanning for them and then shipped them the data, and they did all the processing side of it.
Yep.
We're still going to jobs, we're still going to jobs.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, things have to move forward. We're just taking extra precautions. Clark has set up a set of rules that follow all the CDC guidelines is what we're basing everything on. But, the standard stuff, face masks, gloves, there's washing stations kind of everywhere. You just got to be a lot more careful and just respect the rules that are been kind of set in place. But again, on the reality capture side, on looking into the silver lining, there's a lot of opportunities and demand for this because people can't visit jobs. They can't go there. They can't measure stuff,
Yeah, it pushed virtual communication. It pushed anything virtual, which is our whole industry. Yeah. It's delivering an entire site virtually, delivering inside of buildings virtually, delivering progress on construction virtually. You can take anybody to a site by just going and capturing it with one of these technologies we've talked about. And we've had people contact us that, like you said, there's companies that typically are doing tons of scanning jobs, but now they're not allowed to travel. Company policies are shutting down, and they're looking for help in different states. And we know a lot of people around the country, so we're trying to help facilitate that. If it's something that you end up needing, you're welcome to reach out. Vice versa, if something falls in your area, our goal is to know everybody in every city, every state, every company who does anything to do with reality capture, from drone to scanning to survey, so that we can help people accomplish jobs, even if it's not us doing it. We're the connectors at this point.
Awesome.
So thanks again for jumping on, and we look forward to having you involved more in the future. In fact, I'm letting a couple people know as we do these episodes, I'm kind of brainstorming together maybe a live panel type conference thing.
Oh man.
I'm thinking we do it, whether it's through LinkedIn or YouTube and Instagram or whatever, doing an actual live video, having a couple people that are actually involved on the discussion, letting everybody else who's watching be posting comments, and we can kind of field questions, maybe even pull people in. So I'll keep you updated on that. I think you'd be a good fit for joining us as well.
That'd be great, man. The pleasure's been all mine. Again, thank you for creating this. I think this could really help the industry as a whole. And yeah, man, whatever you think I might be able to help you with, just let me know.
Awesome. We appreciate it. And we'll talk to you again soon.
All right. Thanks, Matthew.
All right. Thanks.
Reality Capture Network, bringing the future to you.